Discover 6 spine-chilling dark cult tales that reveal sinister secrets and haunted truths. The oppressive mist of September enveloped Sarah Thompson's suburban town like a thick, suffocating blanket. Long shadows stretched ominously across the streets, twisting the familiar into something grotesque. Her heart raced as she stepped off her shift at the quiet hospital, scanning the growing darkness. The once reliable safety of her neighborhood felt like a deceptive facade hiding something sinister. Jake, her 14-year-old son, had been acting strange, lost in a world of rebellion. The punk rock style that once made her smile now filled her with dread. He spent too much time with Mr. Granger, the seemingly charming neighbor with an unsettling intensity. Her instincts screamed that something was off. She couldn't shake the feeling that every flickering light in the woods and every whispered echo of laughter was a warning. Tonight, the air was electric. As Sarah made her way home, the wind howled, carrying a strange rhythmic chanting from Granger's yard. Her palms grew clammy as she quickened her pace, ears prickling with fear. What was happening to her little neighborhood? She felt eyes on her back. Was it just paranoia, or was someone truly watching her? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue with dread gnawing at her insides. Sarah steeled herself and marched to confront Mr. Granger, her heart hammering. The moon hung low, casting an eerie glow as she knocked. The door creaked open, revealing him grinning, dirt under his nails. A garden? The chilling symbols she had seen carved into the oak just outside signaled something deeper, something evil. Just tending to my garden, Sarah, he said smoothly, but the glint in his eyes felt like knives slicing through her trust. Every word dripped with malice. She could see shadows shifting behind him, echoing their whispers, beckoning. Was he part of something dark? Strange happenings escalated, each more disconcerting than the last. Schools of ominous shadow danced at the edges of her vision. Her calls to the local authorities crumbled into disbelief, their glazed eyes revealing their complicity. It couldn't just be hysteria, her boy's life was at stake. Clutching old newspaper clippings in her trembling hands, she discovered the harrowing truth: a cult, linked through generations to her lineage, marked by a string of disappearances that called her home a wicked ground for sacrifice. Terror swelled. Jake was out there, lost among threads that reached far beyond her understanding. That night, he vanished, leaving behind a note laced with cryptic symbols, an ancient call for something she couldn't fathom. Panic surged through her as she bolted from their home, the fluorescent streetlights flickering in and out like dying stars, illuminating the path toward darkness. Every house felt alive, every corner a hidden truth. Mr. Granger loomed behind each shadow, a puppeteer orchestrating monstrous events. The howl of the wind echoed shrieks beneath his watchful gaze. As Sarah rounded the last corner, she sensed an ancient presence wrapping around her, suffocating, and then silence loomed heavy. The scream that split the night shattered whatever hope she had left. Rushing toward the source, dread coursed through her veins, only to find herself finally unearthing what had been buried for too long. But with that realization, she was drawn further into the shadows, heart racing against impending doom. What did the night hold for her and her son? The hunt had only just begun. Sarah stumbled into the thick darkness, her heart pounding like a war drum in her chest. The air was heavy, a thick fog wrapping around her limbs, whispering twisted secrets. The screams of the night faded, replaced by a pervasive silence that felt like being submerged underwater. Panic clawed at her throat as she fought against the suffocating weight of dread. This darkness, dripping with danger, felt like the maw of something ancient, timeless, and insatiable. The chant began again, echoing in her ears like a deranged lullaby. She gritted her teeth and moved deeper into the night, her legs trembling but unwilling to stop. Jake was out there. The thought drove her forward, every bit of maternal instinct fighting against the chill in her spine. Each shadow twisted and contorted, elongating in the ghostly moonlight. "Jake!" she called, voice cracking. The only reply was the wind, mocking her cries as it rustled the leaves overhead. Then, she saw the glow of ritualistic firelight flickering through the trees ahead. It beckoned her closer, an alluring dance of orange and yellow that pulsed with an alien rhythm. Fear twisted in her gut like a blade, but she couldn't draw back now. She could see figures moving in the light, dark shapes swaying with the chant, their faces hidden by hoods. It was a scene pulled from the deepest nightmares, yet it felt achingly familiar. Pushing through the underbrush, she crept toward the clearing. The faintest hint of tortured laughter seeped through the chants, making her skin crawl. She could feel the heat from the fire licking at her face, but that warmth was deceptive. The very essence of evil was brewing at this gathering. Heart racing, she peered through the branches. There, in front of the blazing flames, stood her son, Jake. Transfixed, his eyes gleamed with an unnatural light, a stark contrast to the boy she knew. His body swayed, entranced by the cult that now surrounded him, arms raised toward the ominous night sky. "Jake!" she gasped, panic threatening to swallow her whole. "This can't be happening." But he did not turn to her. He seemed lost, not her Jake, but a vessel for whatever darkness had taken root in their lives. The figures drew closer together, swaying in rhythmic harmony, their chant building to an ear-piercing crescendo. The grotesque symbols carved into the soil pulsed as if alive, a greedy hunger resonating in the very ground. With barely a heartbeat for courage, Sarah stepped into the fray. "Jake! We need to leave!" She barely recognized her own voice over the thrumming chant. The shadows shifted, and she felt a pull and grip on her mind that threatened to ensnare her. A figure turned, unmoving but so hauntingly familiar. It was Mr. Granger. His eyes were voids, empty yet filled with a chilling promise of doom. "Join us, Sarah. You understand now." His voice slithered through the night, seducing and suffocating. "No! Let him go!" Desperation surged through her, spurring her forward. Yet, as she took a step closer, the ground beneath her quivered. The cult's chant morphed into a roar, and shadows surged toward her, hungry and relentless. In that moment of chaos, Jake's gaze broke free from its daze, locking eyes with Sarah. For a flicker of hope, she saw her boy there. "Mom!" he shouted, but within that instant, the darkness clawed back at him, dragging him into its depths. "Jake!" Panic exploded in a surge of adrenaline as she lunged forward. The cult swarmed, and the flames brightened, casting grotesque shapes all around. There was no turning back now. Shadows reached for her, and she felt the weight of the night close in. With the world spinning around her, Sarah fought against the tide. But what if the real horror was deeper than just her son's fate? What if the legacy of the cult was destined to ruin her as well? As she struggled to break through the encroaching darkness, her fingers grazed against the cold, slick surface beneath her. An ancient symbol, a key to understanding everything. But if she tore it apart, would it save Jake or would it condemn them both? The air thickened and whispered the answer as she grasped the dark truth. Her world was entwined in depths of horror she never imagined. Would she have the courage to confront it? The shadows released their grip just long enough for Sarah to see fear mirrored in Jake's eyes. He was slipping away again. She had to make a choice. Would she fight the dark or fall prey to it? In that fleeting moment, Sarah realized the night was not finished with her yet. As the chanting escalated to a deafening frenzy, something shifted deep in the woods, drawing both of them towards something far worse than they had ever known. Sarah felt the world tilt as she plunged into the clearing, the heartbeat of terror throbbing in her ears. The fire blazed, casting erratic shadows that danced like demonic spirits around the encamped figures. She fought to keep her focus on Jake. He was still there, hovering on the edge of that abyss, swaying along with the cult, entranced. "Jake!" she screamed, her throat raw. Panic spiraled, a wild wind inside her. The cultists turned as one, their hoods casting dark veils over their haggard faces. The chant shifted, morphing into a dreadful chorus, echoing an ancient power that reverberated against the trees. Join us, they beckoned, their voices dripping with a twisted allure. No. This was not happening. She pushed forward, shoving aside thick branches, their fibers scratching at her skin like claws. She needed to break through the throng. She couldn't lose him. Suddenly, the flames flared higher, illuminating grotesque masks and wild eyes staring back at her. Mr. Granger stepped forward, arms wide, a false prophet welcoming her into darkness. "It's time to embrace the truth, Sarah," he rasped, poison dripping from his words. "You cannot save him. He is one of us now." Her breath caught as shards of disbelief cut through her fear. "You're lying!" She surged ahead, only to be met with a wall of bodies blocking her path. The air grew thick, infused with heat and the acrid scent of smoke. Jake stumbled back, held up by a dark force she couldn't see. Something malicious was woven into the air, a connection to the cult that reached out with tendrils of shadows, gripping him cruelly. His eyes, once bright with innocence, glimmered with something unutterably dark. "Mom," he whispered, desperation barely voicing in the sea of madness. "Help me!" Her heart exploded in terror for her son as she tore through the crowd, hands clawing wildly. She felt the push of an unseen force trying to pull her back, an icy grip dragging at her mind. The chant surged, overpowering and cruel, wrapping around her heart like a vice. "Help him!" she cried out, pleading with anyone who would listen. But only the shadows embraced her words, distorting them into something unrecognizable. "Open your heart," the cult whispered, their leader drawing nearer, almost intoxicating in his presence. "He needs you to let go. Embrace the darkness." The chilling thought pierced through her like steel. What if the only way to save Jake was to abandon everything she believed? "No!" she shrieked. "I want to give in." Her pulse quickened as anger washed over the fear. With renewed resolve, she gathered every ounce of strength, pushing against the shadows clawing at her. The ancient symbols she had touched earlier felt alive in her mind, igniting her willpower. If this was the key, she had to act. "Jake! I love you!" Sarah shouted back into the grotesque choir. With every word, she concentrated. The sacred ties of motherly love breathed life into her purpose, igniting a surge of energy. She grabbed a nearby rock, heavy and cold, her fingers brushing against something sharp etched into the stone, runes of protection. They hummed, vibrating with understanding. "Jake!" she shouted again, her voice a beacon above the chaos. "Fight it! Remember who you are." His gaze flickered, a flash of clarity in the thick fog of his mind. The shadows faltered, their grip weakening as he struggled against their call. For a moment, hope sparked between them, a lifeline intertwining their hearts. But the cult surged forward, faces twisted in rage and fear. She had crossed the line. The chant morphed to a nearly violent crescendo, the fire crackling angrily, hot embers bursting into the air like angry fireflies. With a primal scream, she clutched the stone tighter, aware now that the true battle was not just for her son's life, but for her very soul. The darkness roared around her, an ancient beast awakened, and then she saw a vision of what lay beyond the ritual. Was it freedom, or eternal damnation? As the shadows surged again, closing in fast, the decision loomed larger than life. Would her love shatter this evil hold for both of them, or would it ignite a darker fate? In a heartbeat, Sarah raised the stone high, her voice ringing out amongst the chaos, ready to fight against the dark that threatened to consume them both. "Jake, hold on!" As she slammed the stone down, the scream of the past and present spun together in a horrid symphony. But the clearing erupted into chaos, and the shadows seemed to scream back. What would happen next? Would Sarah's act of defiance tear the fabric of this cursed night, or would they both be drawn deeper into the abyss? The stones struck the earth with a sickening thud, vibrations crackling through the chill of the night air. A brilliant flash erupted from the runes, blinding for an instant and sending shockwaves that rippled outward. The chanting stopped. Silence fell over the clearing like a suffocating blanket. Sarah staggered back, momentarily blinded, the heat of the flames licking around her, distorting the air. She blinked desperately, fumbling to regain focus. It felt like a moment suspended in time, an eternity filled with dread and anticipation. Then she saw him. Jake stood rigid, the dark tendrils of shadow still encircling him but wavering, as if the stone's power had forged a fragile barrier between him and the cult. His eyes, once lost, now flickered with uncertainty and fear. "Mom?" "Yes. It's me. Fight them," she urged, the words spilling out like desperate prayers. But as her voice broke through, the shadows twisted violently around Jake, thrashing as if alive. "Join us!" they screamed, echoing from every corner of the clearing, creating a cacophony that clawed at her sanity. The cultists began to move again, stepping forward with manic energy, their faces warped in a mixture of rage and warped ecstasy. Mr. Granger's eyes shone like dark stars in the firelight, malicious and intent. "Foolish girl! You think you can break our bond? You have only given him a taste of power." His laugh was like gravel against glass, scraping against the last remnants of her courage. The flames surged higher, flickering shadows wrapping around her legs like icy snakes, constricting her movement. "You have no idea what you've unleashed." Sarah's heart raced. The stone's glow pulsed in her hand, a lifeline of hope amidst the chaos. "This darkness, it's not who you are, Jake. Remember your life before this." The memories flooded her mind: family dinners, laughter, all the moments that had made Jake who he truly was. His face twitched, a flicker of recognition hinted behind the terror. But the shadows constricted tighter, their grip vicious. "Mom, I can't." "Yes, you can. You are stronger." The stone thrummed steadily, and she pressed it against her heart, feeling its energy channel through her. With every beat, she sent love and strength toward Jake, willing him to break free. As if in response, the shadows recoiled, wailing in a chorus of anguish. The cultists began to falter, their chanting faltering as if they were losing the very essence that held them together. "What is happening?" one cried, eyes wide with panic. The ground beneath them quaked, throwing off the balance of the gathering. The flames swirled chaotically, creating a whirlpool of heat and light. "Sarah!" Jake's voice ripped through the chaos, but it barely reached her through the din. She could hardly keep her feet beneath her. And then, the vision came again, each of the cult members not just dressed in their draping cloaks, but wearing symbols of their own undoing. A truth buried under layers of darkness, an ancient curse manifesting in their lives, feeding off their fears and desires. In a moment of clarity, Sarah understood. The only way to sever this bond was to confront the very darkness they all harbored within. Gathering her breath, she shouted over the tempest, "You are not bound by this evil. Fight it! Let go of your hatred." Her voice rang clear, laced with desperation and determination. The shadows flickered, as if wavering under the weight of her words. The cultists shared looks of confusion, their twisted expressions cracking, revealing hints of vulnerability beneath. But Mr. Granger loomed larger as panic spread among the ranks. "She is trying to undo everything. Stop her!" With that command, the tide of the cult surged toward her, desperate to silence the truths she was unveiling, to snuff out the flicker of hope she had ignited. Sarah steadied herself, ready to face the swarm. She clenched the stone harder, steeling her resolve. "I won't give up! I will save my son!" As endless bodies converged and darkness clawed at her mind, the air thick with danger, she felt a pulse of energy unraveling the shadows, their grip loosening slightly. Would her words sink in, revealing hidden truths? Or would the sheer weight of the cult's malevolence crush them all? In that moment, the darkness roared, a hurricane of fury barreling down upon her, ready to obliterate every shred of light. What remained hidden in the shadows of their past? Would confronting it be their salvation, or would it bury them deeper into malevolence? The ground shook, and Sarah felt the hot breath of the shadows as they closed in. The flames flickered wildly, casting frantic shapes that danced ominously in the clearing. The cult surged forward, their faces nearly feral with rage and desperation. Sarah could see the glints of their eyes, something human lingering behind the madness. "Jake!" she cried, straining to keep her voice steady, to pierce through the maelstrom of chaos and despair. "Remember the time we went camping? You caught that big fish." For a split second, the shadows on Jake's face flickered uncertainly. "I remember," he stammered, confusion washing over him. But the gathering of cultists around him loomed larger, more threatening. The symphony of their malice echoed louder, drowning out her voice. Your memories are weak. You belong to us now. Mr. Granger jeered, lashing out with an arm, the shadows behind him swirling with frenzied energy. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as the air thickened with despair. She could feel her legs trembling. The energy from the stones surged again, pulsating in rhythm with her heartbeat. It felt alive, a part of her, but could she harness that feeling? With a sudden clarity, she raised the stone high. You all have the power to break free. Remember your true selves. A gust of wind whipped through the clearing, momentarily distracting the cultists. Their chanting hung suspended, and the shadows hesitated, flickering at the edges of her vision. Just for an instant, Sarah saw doubt ripple across their faces, but then the darkness roared back, as if it could sense its grip weakening. Jake's expression twisted painfully. Mom, help me! His voice trembled, drowning in anguish. Hold on, Jake. Fight them! She shouted, desperation clawing at her insides. The bond between them burned brighter, illuminating their shared love against the dark. Mr. Granger's eyes widened with a furious intensity. Enough! He bellowed, his voice thick with rage, and in that moment, shadows lashed out like snakes, striking toward Sarah, aiming to snuff out her light. She ducked, heart racing, instinct flaring. The cultists closed ranks, and chaos erupted around her, a push and pull, a desperate struggle for power. Sarah stumbled backward, feeling the weight of the shadows pressing into her mind, clawing for control. Let go! Let go! She screamed, even as her own thoughts threatened to spiral into despair. A strange sound ripped through the air. Like a dam breaking, something deep within the cultists surged to the surface. Gasps filled the night. Had they hit a nerve? The shadows quivered, the earth began to quake more violently, and she sensed an ancient power awakening beneath them. Suddenly, Sarah's vision blurred. She fell to her knees, breathless. The ground split open around the altar, revealing a roiling darkness that twisted beneath the surface like a malevolent serpent. Mother! Jake screamed, now wholly engulfed in the dark swirling haze. Jake! She cried, but the darkness closed in once more, pulling him deeper. Her heart felt like it was fracturing. In that moment of utter despair, a flicker of resolve ignited inside her. The stone pulsed, a steady heartbeat against the chaos. Deep within its energy, she sensed a truth: every person in this circle had buried fears, longings turned grotesque. But if she could shine a light on those truths, perhaps they could fight back. Face your worst fears! She yelled, her voice echoing through the madness. The only way out is to confront what's inside. Jake's eyes locked onto hers through the swirling maelstrom. Mom! Help me! Moments stretched like an eternity, the world around them both collapsing and bursting asunder. Would the truth scatter the darkness, or would it pull them all deeper into its depths? In her heart, a chilling doubt creeped in. What if their deepest fears were stronger than her love? The shadows screamed, echoing her doubt, swallowed up in a whirlwind that threatened to tear apart everything she hoped to save. Was there any chance of redemption in this darkness? From the depths of the chaos, sinister whispers crawled toward her. Join us, surrender. As the shadows crested and the wind howled, Sarah could feel a choice looming on the edge. Would she let the darkness prevail, or could she illuminate the truth buried deep within? How could she wrestle back the sun she couldn't lose to an ancient curse? And as the chaos surged, she knew she had to act before it consumed them all. The shadows recoiled for a heartbeat, as if Sarah's words had sliced through the suffocating weight of despair. But then the whispers poured forth, thick and heavy, binding her thoughts in chains. You're lying. You cannot save him, they hissed, wrapping around her like barbed vines. Sarah forced back the rising tide of dread, clutching the stone tighter. I can't let you have him. He's my son. The flaming glow illuminated her face, fierce determination blazing in her eyes. But the cultists only advanced, hunched figures driven by a primeval force, eyes glimmering with unnatural hunger. The earth roared beneath their feet, swallowing up the last vestiges of rationality. They were more monster now than human, each whispering their deepest, darkest fears into the chaotic air. "Why won't you join us, Mother?" Mr. Granger taunted, his face a twisted snarl. "Your fear is a cloak, a shroud that will keep you warm in the darkness." A sickening cold seeped into her bones as Sarah felt the pull of each voice ghosting through her mind. Memories long buried surfaced: abandonment, regret, the guilt of parenting in a broken world. A shiver raced down her spine. "No! I won't let you manipulate me!" she screamed, shaking her head wildly. She dug her heels into the soil, as dark tendrils crawled closer, nefarious and desperate to root themselves. To her astonishment, one of the cultists hesitated, blinking as if awakening from a deep slumber. Sarah zeroed in. "You remember, don't you? Who you once were?" She could see the flicker of humanity within the shadow, the glimmer of hope desperately fighting against the rising tide. Another cultist, eyes bright with tears, thrashed against the dark bindings around him. "Help me!" he pleads, fighting through the clutches of an unseen entity. "Together! Fight it together!" Sarah urged, and with each resonating word, new life spread like wildfire. But Mr. Granger bellowed, shaking the very ground. "Enough! They are mine!" His eyes darkened, bursting with fury as he was consumed by the shadows. The ground quivered violently, fissures rippling outward, manifesting the range and strength of ancient evil, desperate to reclaim what it lost. The shadows surged forward, clawing and lashing, and Sarah felt the frantic beat of her heart echo in rhythm with the earth's quakes. "Jake, hold on!" she shouted, locking eyes with her son, who writhed against his impending fate. The connection between them shimmered brightly, even as the darkness obscured it. "Mom! I can't breathe," Jake gasped, struggling against the grip of terror and despair that constricted him like a vice. A surge of power coursed through her, rising from the stone in her hands. Sarah felt it ignite, a flame caught in a tempest. "We are stronger together, Jake! Don't let them do this!" And with that, she hurled the stone into the fray, sending it spiraling through the tendrils of darkness. As it struck the ground, an explosion of light erupted, white-hot and blinding. Shadows recoiled, screeching, ripping away from the source. The sound could shatter glass, shake the heavens. But in that blinding chaos, something twisted caught her eye. A shadow darted closer, faster than light. The corner blurred, and Sarah cried out. She felt the darkness seep into her own soul, clawing at her thoughts. Images of Jake in danger, echoes of all she had lost, surged back hard. When the light dimmed, she was left breathless, clutching her chest. The cultists faltered, the shattered spell lingering in the night air. But exposed beneath them lay another world, a reflection of their darkened visions, the sunken memories of their fears woven through the very fabric of reality. And then, from amongst the wreckage, an ominous silhouette rose, more real than before. Sarah's heart sank as she recognized it, the twisting spirit of the cult. "Feel that? The remnants of your failures," it whispered, voice resonating like thunder. "Your love is but a flickering candle, vulnerable against the storm." Sarah steeled herself. There was strength in the memories they shared, but could they survive the echo of despair? The chilling realization washed over her. Sarah hadn't just awakened hope, she had unleashed true horror. As the creature advanced, each step heavier than the last, its breath hot against her skin, Sarah knew the battle was far from over. What would be the cost of illuminating the deep-seated terror that festered in the hearts of the cult? The shadows stretched, but she felt the resolve stir within her once more, fed by a promise: she would not let darkness extinguish her light. But as she took a step forward, a jarring thought slithered into her mind. What could emerge from the depths of the darkness now that it had been unleashed? And, more importantly, how far would it go to claim everything she held dear? The air thickened with dread as the creature slithered forward, its form twisting and expanding like smoke unfurling in the dark. Sarah's heart raced, pounding against her ribs like a trapped bird, desperate to escape this nightmare. "Mother, save them!" The fragmented screams of the cultists mingled with her own thoughts, mixing dread with fleeting hope. Shadows crawled closer, their whispers growing louder, a symphony of despair seeking to drown her in the depths of their malice. Her eyes darted to Jake, still ensnared, gasping for air as he fought against the void that threatened to swallow him whole. She could see the searing fear in his eyes, the raw panic, and it filled her with a blazing resolve. "I won't abandon you." The words came out as a keening cry, sharp and alive, an echo of defiance against the encroaching darkness. The creature, its form barely comprehensible, writhing like a serpent, paused, sensing her determination. "You think you can fight me?" it hissed, voice like nails scraping against glass. Its eyes glimmered with malevolence as it towered over her, a grotesque reflection of her own darkest fears. "You are but a flicker. Your love is a weakness I will exploit." "Shut up!" she shouted, anger fueling her resolve. She felt the stone's remnants in her palm, the fire still flickering within. "You don't know anything about love." With each word, she felt the warmth rise in her chest, the flicker of defiance igniting into flame. "Jake, listen to me," she urged, locking her gaze onto her son's frightened face. "We'll fight this together. Remember all the moments we've shared, the laughter, the love. We're stronger than this darkness." As if giving him strength, the cultists faltered, their eyes flickering strangely, caught between the remnant of who they had been and the shadow they now represented. Some hesitated, as if her words were a lifeline thrown into the tempest. Their pain resonated with the nostalgia of a past they fought so hard to forget, but Mr. Granger pressed forward, eyes unchanged, hatred radiating from him like heat. "You foolish woman! Their memories bind them, but they are mine now." A surge of shadows shot toward her, a clawing mass intent on dragging her into the abyss. Sarah screamed, her heartbeat echoing the impending disaster. "Jake!" she cried, her voice breaking. "Hold on to me! Don't let go!" In the chaos, Jake strained against the shadows, small hands pushing against the weight of the darkness, as if willing it to yield. "Mom, I'm scared," he gasped, choking on the very fear that threatened to pull him into the depths. "Fight it," she urged, reaching deep into her reservoir of strength. The stone pulsed again, a lifeline of blood-red heat radiating outwards. "We can break free of this." Around her, the cultists seemed to sway, confused by her passion. The shadows quivered, caught in an unseen battle between the ancient evil and their flickering humanity. Then, with a sudden desperation, Sarah closed her eyes. She channeled everything, the love, the guilt, the pain, into a desperate wish, a call for strength. If she could channel her spirit, maybe, just maybe, they could escape this nightmare. And then it happened. A bright light burst forth from her core, spreading with blinding intensity, illuminating the space between them. The tendrils recoiled, twisting back as Sarah was engulfed in brilliance. A radiant warmth filled the air, suffocating the whispers and shadows. For one fleeting moment, Sarah thought they might break free. But at the heart of that light, a darkness flickered, waiting to consume. As she gathered the strength to move forward, shadows regrouped, coiling tightly around her and Jake, entangling them once again. "Everything comes at a cost, darling," the creature growled, slipping back into the chaos with a sinister hiss. In that moment, Sarah's breath caught as she realized, hope brought light, but it also invited shadows to converge. She risked everything, but could she protect Jake without losing herself in the surge of that terrifying power? The glow faded, leaving Sarah shivering in the overwhelming darkness once more. "Mom?" Jake's voice quivered, shaking her to the core. Her answer hung unsaid, a fragile whisper poised to break. What price would they have to pay to escape this malevolent grasp? Fear loomed in the silence as she grappled with the truth. Could she hold the darkness at bay, or was it already too late? The shadows pressed in, coiling tighter around Sarah and Jake like a vice. The air crackled with an eerie chill, each breath they took laden with dread. Her heart raced, a wild drum echoing in her ears, as darkness pulled them closer to oblivion. Panic was suffocating, but it was the glint of Jake's wide, terrified eyes that fueled her resolve. "Stay with me," she shouted, clenching her fists around the remnants of the stone. The warm pulse within it felt fleeting, like a candle in a storm. "Remember the stories I told you, Jake? The ones where the heroes always found a way." But the shadows twisted, the malevolent voice of the creature wrapping around her thoughts, choking the hope she desperately tried to nurture. Heroes? They die too. Like moths to a flame, drawn in by their delusions. Tears pricked at Sarah's eyes, blurring her vision. We're not deluded. We're real. I won't let you take him. The creature laughed, a sickly sound filled with malice that threatened to drown her remaining courage. It surged around them, forming shapes that mocked her memory's laughter turned to screams, love twisted to hate. It was all there, sharp and vivid, a reminder of how close things were to unraveling. Jake, listen, she urged. Your light, your spirit, it's stronger than any nightmare. He shook his head, tears mingling with the shadows. Mom, I can't fight it. No! Her voice was a fierce echo against the whispers surrounding them. You can. Just believe. The shadows pulsed, each twist and coil a challenge, but within them lay traces of the cultist's humanity. Their faces flickered in and out like dying embers, frustration, sorrow, confusion. Could she reach them as well? Stop! She cried, looking at the flickering faces. You know who you are. Fight. Remember your families, your love. This darkness doesn't own you. A collective murmur ran through the ranks of the cultists, conflicted desires battling against the creature's grip. The shadows hesitated, loosening their hold just enough for Sarah to see it, not just fear in Jake's eyes anymore, but a flicker of recognition, a surge of strength. Mom, I feel it. He gasped. Then hold on, she exclaimed, pushing against the darkness with all her might. She closed her eyes, pouring every shred of love she had for him into that small moment. The glow began to rise again, a bubble of warmth amidst the cold. But just as hope sparked, the creature reacted with fury. You think you can unravel my tapestry of despair? How naive! The shadows surged back, a tsunami of darkness clawing at them, suffocating and constricting like a noose. Sarah's heart raced as she felt the light flickering. They were losing. Then a thought struck her: what if she could merge her strength with the cultists, bind their memories together, harness their shared humanity? It was a gamble, a desperate shot in the dark. We have to unite. Together, let us remember. She yelled, a plea igniting the air like fire. Their light is your light. Share your strength. The shadows recoiled for a heartbeat, and a chorus of whispers echoed through the gloom. Memories surged, fragments of love, the warmth of a child's laugh, the comfort of home powerful enough to push back against the malevolence. The darkness wriggled, shrieking against the new light that swelled among them. Mom! We're breaking free. Jake's voice was stronger now, woven into the swell of defiance. Together they surged, a united front against the shadows, but at what cost? Still, the creature loomed within the chaos, anger flaring like a dormant sun awakening. It writhed and snapped, reeling against the tide of hope. You will not escape your fate. As it launched forward, shadows twisting into dreadful shapes, Sarah felt the chilling truth. To face this creature fully, she had to sacrifice something deeper. What would she give up to protect Jake? The decision loomed like a knife's edge, and the darkness was inching closer, hungry and relentless. Stay with me, Jake, she shouted, grounding herself against the tide of terror. But was she strong enough to wrestle the darkness into submission? Could love truly conquer all in this harrowing nightmare? As the shadows coiled tighter, swallowing the light, Sarah felt a knot of certainty in her gut. She couldn't let them win. But what would be the ultimate price for triumph? Time was running out. And so was her strength. The shadows lunged, a terrifying mass of darkness clawing toward them with insatiable hunger. Sarah could feel the suffocating grip like icy fingers creeping up her spine. Desperation clawed at her throat, but she forced herself to hold tight to the warmth within the stone. It felt like the last pulse of hope in a world gone cold. Jake! She cried, her voice nearly swallowed by the overwhelming roar of despair. You have to fight. Focus on the light. Through the whirlwind of shadow, Jake's face strained, his features flickering like a candle in the wind. I'm trying, Mom. But what if it's too strong? What if we can't? Believe! Sarah shouted, the word bursting from her like a flare in the night. She pushed forth her love, each heartbeat a rallying cry against the engulfing darkness. But the creature pressed in, its laughter like shards of glass, piercing through their fragile resolve. You are fools! You think love can save you from me? You have no idea what true pain is! The shadows shrieked and writhed, igniting the air with palpable dread. Suddenly, the faces of the cultists emerged from the oppressive gloom, twisted and racked with torment. They were mere silhouettes, tormented souls lost to despair. In that dreadful moment, Sarah understood. The creature fed on their fear, their despair. It was their pain, their darkness that she had to break, and maybe, just maybe their memories could be more powerful than the creature's grasp. Remember! She called out to the faces flickering around them, you are not alone. Remember your passion, your love, your will to return. A cacophony of voices erupted, breaking through the shadows. We remember, they chanted, hesitating, flickering like lights swaying in a storm. Hope surged, trying to quell the darkness. Keep it going, Sarah urged. Feel the light. Let it burn through the dark. But the creature lashed out, a tempest of fury and sorrow. No! I will claim your spirit. Your love is weak. The darkness lashed out, and Sarah felt a wave of fear course through her. It enveloped Jake, causing his breath to hitch and his resolve to tremble. Mom, it's too strong. His voice was barely a whisper, and she could see the tendrils of dark influence creeping towards him, ready to snatch him away. No! She gritted her teeth, steeling her heart against the onslaught. You are more. You are light. Suddenly, a crash reverberated through the shadows. A spectral figure emerged, barely recognizable but familiar. It flickered through the tumult, a reflection of one of the cultists, a weary mother calling, her voice hang heavy with anguish. Remember us. We were not lost. They cannot take what we hold inside. The cultists gasped collectively. The memory surged stronger, igniting fragments of lost love. Who are you? They gasped in unison. Together. Sarah shouted over the din, let us bring back everything that was taken. With a single heartbeat, Sarah reached for them, grasping hands of light and shadow. A bright ember ignited from the deepest corners of their collective memories and surged toward the creature, blinding in its brilliance. But the creature countered with a maelstrom of dark energy, swirling and snapping like a monstrous serpent. Foolish mortals! It hissed, its voice a twisted echo. You cannot rewrite your fate. As light erupted and cascaded amid the darkness, Sarah felt a splitting pain tear through her soul. A burning weight on her heart whispered that she was losing something dear, a tether that might not return. Jake! She screamed as the light enveloped them, spiraling into chaos. They were swept away, twinkles of memory dancing through the dark veil. In that moment, dread clawed anew at her heart. What if she blended too far into the light? What if everything plunged them deeper into despair? And then, just as the light began to break through, a sinister shadow leapt, a clawed hand reaching for Jake. You cannot save him. As Sarah felt herself slipping, the question echoed through the vortex of darkness. Who would pay the price to defeat the creature? With every ounce of strength drained and their fate hanging by a thread, Sarah realized the ultimate sacrifice loomed overhead. Could she let go of her heart to save her son? The shadows convulsed, and suspense thickened the air. The final showdown approached, setting the stage for unimaginable choices. Would her love be enough to fight the darkness? The answer loomed closer as they spiraled into the heart of the storm. But there was still more to discover. What lay ahead could either destroy them or bind them together forever. The chaos swirled around Sarah like a tempest, and as shadows clawed at her, she felt Jake's presence slipping away once more. The heart-stopping realization hit her hard. If she didn't act now, she might lose him forever. Every heartbeat echoed in her ears like a battle drum, urging her to channel every ounce of love and courage she had left. Jake! Focus on my voice! She cried, determination lending strength to her faltering resolve. Remember who you are. You are not just part of this darkness. I love you. The dark energy churned, swirling relentlessly, but within it, she glimpsed the boy she raised, the laughter they shared. The connection flared like a torch in the night. For a moment, she saw the shadows waver, the creature recoiling slightly, as if unsure how to combat the strength of their bond. "Stay with me. Just a little longer." And then she understood. The key wasn't merely holding back the darkness for them to escape. It was to confront the memories that fed it. The realization ignited a fierce flame within her as she turned to the twisted figures of the cultists surrounding them. They were trapped too, ensnared in their own fears and regrets. "Together!" she shouted, rallying her own spirit, and reaching toward the flickering shadows. "Let us awaken our memories! Let us fight this darkness together!" Suddenly, with a flick, the shadows clung closer, almost as if understanding that the tide was turning against them. The creature shrieked in frustration, its voice a cacophony of howls, shrieks, and menacing laughter that wormed its way into her thoughts, seeking to undermine her resolve. But something incredible stirred in the crowd of cult members, a shared memory igniting like wildfire. The flickers of light coalesced around them, creating a radiant circle of humanity refusing the darkness. "Feel the warmth of our bonds, of loving moments drowned in the shadows," Sarah urged, the energy building within the circle. She knew they needed this to be powerful enough to fend off the ravenous dark. Where fear once stood, she called for love, and with every ounce of conviction, she pushed against the creature that threatened to consume them all. "I am not afraid," Sarah shouted, the words pouring from her heart. "You can't take what is bound in the love we hold. We are stronger together, united in our pasts. We will not let the darkness define us." Then, everything changed. The shadows around them recoiled, as if pained by the revelation. Cultists straightened up, eyes wide, remembering pieces they thought long lost. Their voices, muffled at first, echoed back into the night, summoning courage forged in love rather than fear. Together they chanted, a fierce cry rising like a crescendo, "We will not go quietly. We refuse to let our darkness consume us." The fire that burst from their hearts created a radiant barrier, shattering the shroud of evil that sought to undo them. Sarah could feel it working, a surge of warmth enveloping her and amplifying their cries. The creature shrieked, its monstrous form flickering as the shadows faltered. Deep fissures of light poured through the encroaching darkness. Finally, Sarah reached back for Jake through the flames, fear and unwavering love pouring out of her. "Jake! Hold on! Your heart is stronger than any shadow." As if her words were magic, the shadows around Jake shivered, releasing their grip. The fear in his eyes softened, morphing into the determination that had always lain beneath. "Mom! I can," and then, as though breaking a wicked curse, the bond between them solidified with brilliance. A searing light enveloped them both, pressing back against the creature with unrelenting force. "Mom!" With one last rallying shout, Sarah held onto Jake's hand fiercely, feeling their spirits intertwine. As the creature writhed and wailed, splintering under the weight of their resolve, it lunged one final time, a dark mass seeking to snatch back what it lost. But united, Sarah and Jake held firm, their bond igniting a barrier thick with shimmering warmth. A blinding flash burst forth, consuming the dark around them. The cacophony of anguished wails twisted into silence, the shadows dissipated into a miasma, leaving only the sweetness of freedom in their wake. In the aftermath, the clearing was quiet. The cultists began to rematerialize, gazes filled with vulnerability, but slowly emerging out of the darkness that had held them captive for too long. Sarah wrapped her arms around Jake, their hearts pounding in rhythm. "We did it! We broke free!" Her tears flowed, not from sorrow, but from the overwhelming relief that flooded through her. Jake's eyes sparkled with a mixture of clarity and warmth. "Did we really? Is it over?" "Yes," she whispered, brushing her thumb against his cheek. "We love each other too much to let darkness win. And it was all of us together that took back our power." As the dawn began to break, painting the horizon with soft hues of light, the remnants of darkness receded into the earth. A sense of hope settled around them, tethered by the bonds they forged amidst despair. "Let this be our truth," she said softly, watching the first rays of a new day cast aside their fears. We are our own light. They stood together, side by side, reborn from shadows into a world bathed in light, where love ultimately triumphed over darkness, guiding them toward the promise of tomorrow. Now, if you've made it to the end, there's something I need you to do. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that could grip your heart. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help spread these stories to others in the dark. Flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about this ending. It's your chance to share your thoughts with the community. And finally, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion and be part of the journey. Your support matters more than you know.